welcome to Paulina's Pages, to another study guide for the CIE English Literature GCSE Curriculum 2022. And this is the final time I have to say this very long sentence, because this is it. I have filmed all 15 of the poems, and today is the last one, a study guide for the character of A Happy Life by Sir Henry Wotton. Sir Henry Wotton was an English politician and diplomat. He traveled a lot because of his work, and he was very well educated and well connected. He had some literary works like this poem, but he was mostly scientifically inclined. He's famous for defining an ambassador as an honest man sent to lie abroad for the good of his country. In 1651, he published Reliquiae Wottonianae, and in this collection you can find the poem we're discussing today. The speaker in this poem comments on what he thinks is the way forward to true happiness, finding oneself and God, rather than letting yourself be dragged down by all the pleasures that humankind normally seeks. And in this poem, he sets out the list of things that he believes a happy character possesses, and through doing this, you can find true pleasure and true joy. And it's basically a 17th century self-help poem with a very didactic tone. A quick note on the structure, and please glance at the poem in full. There are 6 quatrains with a simple rhyme of A, B, A, B. Remember that the speaker advocates for finding happiness within rather than through superficial things people pursue, and so this choice of a simple rhyme scheme rather than an over-the-top, elaborate one reflects this. How happy is he born or taught, that serveth not another's will, whose armor is his honest thought, and simple truth his highest skill. So in this first stanza, the speaker carefully remarks on what he thinks is a true happy person, and it's almost like he himself is not this true happy character, but rather he's thinking about what makes someone happy. And how happy is he is, well, obviously a very archaic formulation, but it's an alliteration with aspirant H's, and it's almost like he's letting out this breath, and this breath of air is his relief, his readiness to accept and to propose this happy character that he thinks that everyone should aspire to be like. And he says it doesn't matter if this person was born or taught, so born or raised, because this honesty to yourself is not an inherent value. You might possess it at birth, but you might lose it as time progresses, or you might not have it at birth and you might be born into this family that doesn't really promote such values, but you can acquire it. Ultimately, it doesn't matter how you came to be here, but what will make you happy is living like this now. So it's being honest and being true to yourself. Your honest thought is your armor. It's your defense against all the harms of the world, against the sin and the bad things that are trying to drag you down, against the demons, basically. This is your guarantee of safety and protection. It's not what others say is your guarantee, but it's what you yourself think, genuinely unaffected by others. Let's say that your parents were farmers, and they would say that, okay, so generations of your family are farmers, you yourself should be a farmer, and that way you won't end up dead and destitute without a cent of restitution, because you will have that safety. We will give you that safety of you becoming a farmer, but you don't want to be a farmer, but you decide that your parents are correct and you go on and eventually become a farmer. And what Sir Henry Wotton is saying here is that this is the incorrect way to view this, because while it may afford you some guarantee over poverty, it doesn't actually, because if you truly wanted to be a farmer, then that would be your one true guarantee, because it's ultimately your happiness that is your defense. You need weapons to fight life, and you don't need physical weapons like all this material wealth that people equip themselves with to protect themselves from uncertainties and unexpected things that life throws at you that can drag you down, that can leave you suffering. Your highest skill is the truth that you have. So if you honestly, genuinely look at yourself through the lens of your own desires and your own wishes that are good, that follow the teachings of God, then you are defended, and this is your weapon. Sir Henry Wotton is directly telling us to not be influenced by others, even those we think we trust. The correct way to prepare yourself is to think about what you want and to recognize that you should want higher things like spirituality. Whose passions not his masters are, whose soul is still prepared for death, untied unto the world by care, of public fame or private breath. So we continue to reiterate this message of true desires. This is the reason that I gave that farmer's example. However, strange that was at the beginning, because here essentially, even if you're owned by a master, so you're a peasant and you're working on some noble's land, you should separate your desires. He's addressing the general population too, the majority of the people. He's saying that your desires don't need to be the same as your master's. So if your master wants to be rich and to have a lot of like wealthy land that he's forcing you to plow, and he thinks that you should be jealous, you don't need to be jealous. Like, if you don't aspire to have this wealth, even if he's continuously flaunting his wealth to you, you don't need to follow that wealth. You need to follow what you think is right. And so if you want to be a spiritual person, don't let yourself be dragged down by passions that aren't your own. Pursue your own passion. Even if you're enslaved again to this noble, spirituality is something that you can achieve within. And so even if you can't be free, you shouldn't let that deter your happiness. You should find that true joy within yourself and to take pleasure in what you do, and basically to continue to live as you see fit and not as somebody else is dictating you to. Notice also the repetition and the anaphora of the word whose. Sir Henry Wotton is directly posing us these questions. Who has a happy life? Who do you want to be like? And of course you want to say me. So whose character is leading a happy life? And then you want to say it's my character that's leading a happy life. And so he's urging us by asking us this question of who, to take charge of our lives and to find that pleasure again within. This is the main message, so I will repeatedly state it. And of course, when you're asking those questions, to start embodying themselves and to take those values for yourself. And notice also the lexical field of freedom and servitude. I think the example that I gave of like a lord and a peasant was very apt, because this is from this lexical field. The words such as like untied and freedom and serveth and bound, it's all from that comparison of freedom and slavery. And so we have several different freedoms in this poem. Seeking to be happy, you shouldn't be scared when death comes, because even if you are not perfect, God will recognize those efforts. And this death will come faster by public fame and private breath. So, of course, these are two binary oppositions between going out in public and spending time with people and spending time only with yourself. And what it's saying here is that you shouldn't really be dashing between these two values of being extreme. So either you're a social person or you're an introvert. You should really be seeking to find the middle ground. We shouldn't let flattery and what other people say go to our head. Again, this message of don't listen to other people's passions, listen only to yourself. But then he's also saying that it's wrong to listen just to yourself and to completely isolate yourself from people, because they can give you a lot to learn. And so these contradictory messages, he shows us that it's not as easy as he makes it out to be this happy character who envies none that chance does raise, nor vice who never understood how deepest wounds are given by praise, nor rules of state but rules of good. God was mentioned quite a few times, and now, of course, in a poem about God, how can we live without the threat of eternal damnation? And so we need a reference to vice, to sin, to the things that drag us down as people and that prevent our true happiness. And here, the main focus of this one is envy. Envy is, I believe, one of the 7 sins. He is urging us to not be envious, even of those people who you know don't deserve to be here, that you think that don't deserve to be here. So those that chance doth raise. So just be happy to look at yourself and to not look at others, basically. And this next piece of advice is that deepest wounds are given by praise. So we have a continuation of this metaphor of like armor. So let's say you defended yourself with honest truth and you built this armor, but if you didn't and there are, holes in your armor because you're not being entirely truthful to yourself, your ego will want to listen to the praise that people give you. They will tell you that you're good enough as it is and you don't need to work on yourself further. And this is not directly true. This is just feeding your ego. And because you want to hear this, you let it break through your armor of honesty. And since this armor of honesty is posited as the only thing that will carry you forward in life, of course this flattery is harmful. And the last line is quite ambiguous with nor rules of state nor rules of good, but personally I think that here Wotton is urging us to remember that God is the only true authority. Even though you should listen to the state, you should also remember who your true leader is. Who has his life from rumors freed, whose conscience is his strong retreat, whose state can neither flatterers feed, nor ruin make oppressors great. So this next part continues with defining a happy person. It's a person who doesn't turn to rumors to make up for his own flaws. So say you don't know what to say in a conversation, and so instead you turn to rumors to distract yourself from the problem that you can't carry a conversation. And what Wotton here is saying is that stop taking away from your own flaws, from you being unable to do something, and discussing the flaws of other people. And don't let it drag you down either, the things that people say about you. Also, the word retreat is once again from the lexical field of battle, so you are being led astray, but don't worry, because you can always retreat into your good conscience. It's like your tower. Again, your defense is honesty, your truth is a skill, your weapon. And flatterer's feed is a fricative F alliteration that sounds exactly like whispers, so like people saying, oh, did you hear that this? And finally, the last message from the stanza is that ruin doesn't make oppressors great. It's like that constant comparison of the boy building the sandcastle and the boy breaking it. So who's more powerful, the boy who created the sandcastle or the boy who broke it? You shouldn't trample on people's happiness. This is wrong of him to do that. So you should seek that spirituality within yourself, and you shouldn't think that just because someone is exerting their power and their influence that they're good, because it doesn't mean that they're morally strong. Who God doth late and early pray, more of his grace than goods to send, and entertains the harmless day with a religious book or friend. So the next stanza is more practical because it directly tells you what you should be doing. So yes, of course, all these steps developing your inner character, but you should develop your inner character through a set of physical things as well, like praying day and night. So why you should pray during the day is, I think, justified as in you start the day by thinking about what kind of person you want to be. At night, you thank God for his grace in letting you practice it, or if you were led astray, by saying, okay, I will do better next time. And Watson also asks that as you're praying, you shouldn't really be praying to God just for material good and material wealth. You should be praying for his grace. So you should be directly asking him for his blessing and for his help for you to develop yourself, rather than material things that are the incorrect pursuit of life, as Wotton believes. And goods and grace both are gutturologies, so they're quite sharp. He draws attention to them. He says that, remember, goods and grace are what people ask for, and you should be asking for grace. And in your free time, you shouldn't be doing nothing. You shouldn't just be lying around or buying things or spending money on your hobbies. You should instead be spending the day with a religious book, aka the Bible, or a friend. So the reason that he's saying that you should be spending time like this is because if you're reading the Bible, you're contemplating your goals, you're thinking about where you want to go from here, and this is the correct way to build that sense of character, to build your defense, to be a good person. And if you're with a friend, it's mutually beneficial to help each other with your goodness. This man is freed from servile bands of hope to rise or fear to fall, lord of himself though not of lands, and having nothing yet has all. So we finally end on a mini summary of why you should aspire to live like this. Before this, we had all those steps of how to do it and the things that you should do physically, the things that you should do spiritually, but now we have an actual reason. The man who is true to himself is free from the bands that hold him down, from the material bands, because even if you are trapped in your physical body, you know that you are free spiritually because you worship God. You are not scared of doing something wrong because you know that you're actively trying to better yourself. So even if you fail, you know that like God will save you, God will catch you if you fall, and you also don't have that hope of rising. So you don't need to hope that you will rise as in go to heaven, because you know that you're doing everything that you can. And though materially you may have nothing, Lord of nothing, you have all, because you have God on your side and you have like God within yourself. And notice how throughout this poem we constantly say he as in man. Considering the time, of course he wouldn't have been referring to women, because women weren't taking a very prominent position. Women basically didn't have rights. So this is the reason that he says he. And I think as part of your personal response, you could say if you think this applies to man in general, or if Wotton was more of the belief that only men can do good things, and you can comment on this too. And this way you can hit both the personal response and the context a little bit. So, all right, thank you for watching. I hope I made everything clear. So this was quite a religious poem. I hope I managed to portray the meaning of the poem well, and I hope I managed to make it clear. I did try to repeat myself a few times because I know I talk quickly and I try to slow down, but it doesn't always work. So hopefully the repetition helped. I am so thankful for all of you to just for watching until the end, for being here, and for watching all of my videos, because I know that some of you were here from the beginning, from Waterfall, from Love in the Life. So this was a journey, and I wish you good luck on your exam, on your GCSEs. I'm sure you will do great, and good job on studying and taking steps towards nailing the exam. Good luck to everyone. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.